Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at the brand new book, Mabel and Francine by Pierre Lloga. This is newly out from Strangers Publishing. You can see just straight off from the cover here that we're dealing with like Jeff Darrow level insanity in terms of rendering backgrounds and details. And you also get a sense on the cover of some of the graphic cleverness that's going to be in the comic, where you have Mabel pointing to her name and Francine pointing to her name there. So you get to know the characters. And that's important because this is a silent comic. And that's really cool that right out the gate, they're telling you who the characters are. I didn't notice that actually on my first read. I just was so excited I flipped open. I was like, fuck, who's who? But then I saw that on the cover. I was like, oh, that's perfect. They told me ahead of time. I think Strangers Publishing is one of the most exciting small press companies going right now. There's so many artists that they come across and give their first work to, like Banu Pratap, and then now we have Pierre Lloga. These artists seem like they must have been doing something else, but I don't know what it is. It seems like Stranger Fanzine finds them and gives them their chance to do their first big work, and they're finding all kinds of amazing artists. So this is newly out. It's a silent book. I don't want to give away too much, but I do want to give you a sense of what the art looks like and how the book works. Again, you can see really quite some Jeff Darrow influence in the backgrounds, but then you get these renderings of these animal creatures that are a little bit looser and more open and cartoony, and I think it's a really, really good combination. You see here Mabel is working like in an awful office with all these cubicles. I love that Pierre Lloga has gone in like every cubicle. They each have their like family photos on the wall, and there's shit all over the floor, and you know, no detail is being spared here. Really fun, like public sculpture, abstract plop art there. It's just all really reads perfectly for like this the bureaucratic dystopian nightmare. Here you see Mabel and Francine having a conversation. This is one of the things I really like about the book, is when people do have conversations, it's expressed all in icons and symbols. And so you get like, oh, why don't we go take a trip, and we're going to go to a different part of the earth and we'll go dig. And what they're doing is there's this resource that's worth a lot of money, and they're going to go try and dig for the resource. So that's like the plot that's being proposed from Mabel to Francine that drives the book forward. And that device, I just think, is a really interesting device. Eric Creek used it in his book Gutsman to great effect. The whole book works this way. And this book as well has a lot of those kind of visuals. There's a lot of really interesting also like attempts to break pages up in a different way. So in this one, you have the character like entering the subway basically from the top, and you can follow them down. I don't think that the arrows were necessary here, and I'm also not sure that the panels were necessary. I get that the kind of breakup of panels can create some rhythm, and I've actually argued with Brandon Graham before, because he doesn't like this either. He thinks, and I agree in this case, that the reader's competent enough if you just track your character to follow the zigzag as your character goes down. I don't think you need the arrows and the breakup in this case. Sometimes I do like when an image like that is broken up because it serves like a rhythmic design purpose. In this case, I think the art is so rhythmic already with all of the like gridded subdivisions for the perspective. In this particular case, I don't think it needed it. I think as long as there would have been like a bright color on Mabel here as she wanders through, I would have been able to follow the character. So that's really my only storytelling complaint in the book, and that's just a preference thing. I don't like arrows in comics. I like trusting the reader. But there are so many other cool uses of like diagrammatic things in here that it makes sense to me in terms of like how this artist is building their world, using a lot of icons, using a lot of kind of broken imagery here, like where we have cutaways of a vehicle, and we have like the little pieces in between representing the wall, kind of also creating panel borders, but then you have these infographic pops-ups and stuff like that. And so it is a coherent visual language throughout the book of like instruction manual graphics and things like that. And then a page like this, kind of makes more sense in terms of the overall graphic approach. Here's another example of, characters having like a conversation over the course of a page, along with some cool, just like infographics here. There's not actually numbers, it's just abstract, but you're getting across the idea that they're traveling a long way. And just like, hey, you want coffee? Yeah, but like, give me 1 spoon of sugar. Those kinds of things come across so quick graphically, and I like that, to see characters having a conversation. Here's another one of the pages I think is just really graphically stunning. I really like the kind of play with this, the infographics, the expansion out to see, oh, this is like where this thing is wreaking havoc at the moment. This like following of this arrow. See, this is one where they don't need to break up the panels because I can follow the arrow up through here. And this one's actually a little bit harder to see, I think. But with all this other stuff going on, it's so cool to like track this. And in terms of like other artists, I don't want to say influences, but I see some other artists in here besides like the obvious Jeff Darrow, Moebius type of inspiration. I also see some of what Jesse Lonergan's doing with all of like the infographics and the curves everywhere and the rhythmic breakdown of pages, the science fiction stuff. And also just kind of in some of the rendering of like the animals, like the more brushier application of ink to things, rather than just the real clean Jeff Darrow, real clean fluctuations in line weight. This does veer more into something like Jesse Lonergan, where it's really detailed, it's really, dense use of perspective and paneling and rhythm, but also has a looser finish on top. So I like that. And then in the back here, there's like a little extra story, and again, playing with like architectural rhythmic breakdowns in a page. Again, I don't think that they need to have this split to suggest that this character moved through these places, but also I get it, and for someone who does like those graphic rhythmic breakdowns, it does make sense. So really cool book. I think anyone who's looking at this, I would hope would see that this is an artist that's gonna hopefully be contributing for a long time and who has a lot of really interesting ideas and will make great contributions to push the medium forward. So go out and get Mabel and Francine now and start supporting Pierre Lloga's early on, because this is a creator who can only get better and is already starting off as good as some of the greats. So it's hard to give a better recommendation than that. And while you're buying this at Stranger Publishing's website, go check out the other work they've got, because they have a ton of really cool artists, and a lot of their artists wind up, like Banu Pratap had a book with them, and his next book's coming out with Fantagraphics. I think they're a place that a lot of people are looking at for like who the next big thing, and Pierre Lloga is obviously going to be one of those people.